Guys, I think two and a half years ago, my husband and I, we got the opportunity to relocate to the UK on a health and care worker visa. And what a blessing it was. What a life-changing moment that we've always longed for. And by that time, like I think I've shared this time and again, we've got 2 children. So back then, our oldest, she was 7, and our youngest, she was 4. So obviously, exciting moments, excited for the future, but also tough decisions to make, especially around whether or not to leave the children behind, to come together, to come with them, how to, it was just life-changing in a way, and big decisions had to be made. And one of the biggest decisions that we've had to make was whether or not to come with the children. And guys, today I'm going to share with you some of the reasons that made us to eventually leave the children behind, and we came, and then they later on joined us, but at a later stage. So I'm going to let you into some of the decisions which are practical, financial, and personal that we had to take. Just in case you're in a similar situation, you're thinking, should I leave the children? Should I relocate with my husband? Should I go first? Or, it's difficult. But guys, a big welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're watching me for the first time, my name is Florence. And on this platform, on this channel, we talk about life in the diaspora, life abroad. And I love to talk about the UK because that's where I am at. And I just want for you to share my experience, maybe draw a few lessons from it, and maybe calm your fears around certain things. So that's why I love to share my story and my journey. And guys, so today let's get right straight into it. So first and foremost, one of the biggest decision around it was our careers and finance. Of course, for me, I was transitioning from a different industry into a new industry altogether. And for those of you that know me, that have been on this channel and on my other socials for a long time, you know how passionate I am about work, about service, and being a professional who is very professional and of value to the team. So we sat down, my husband and I was like, we're moving to a new country. I'm starting a new job, joining a new team. And obviously it's demanding. The job itself is demanding. The things that you have to adjust to, things that you have to learn to, are quite demanding as well. So, of course, I needed the support of my family because, like I shared a video of where we live. We live up north, so it's a bit far from our support system, which is our family and friends. So I knew I needed some support system of some sort for me to navigate around that. But then I knew again, if we were to come with the children, that would mean we've got divided attention. They need us. They are also finding their feet. And for us, it wasn't going to work to say we are finding our feet. They are finding our feet. Who is going to be there for who? So obviously, we decided, however painful, that they were going to stay behind. And this was one of the reasons why we left them back home in Zimbabwe. Also, the other reason is a bit financial. We didn't have much in terms of finances. We had nothing financial wise. So that meant like we were not able to find like suitable accommodation for the whole family. Thank goodness the company that brought me from Africa was offering accommodation for me. But this was like this was in a B&B hotel of some sort. So it was just my room. And obviously I couldn't go in there with my family, the children. So it was just accommodation for me. So obviously it wasn't ideal. We could not afford to rent. So it's one of the things that people need to think about to say, if you want to bring your children at the same time with you, are you financially in that position to be able to do that? The other thing was the fact that fine, I had a job, but my husband didn't have a job offer at that time. So obviously it would mean he would have to find a job and start that job. So obviously financially we were not where we were. We were not secure enough for us to come along at the same time with the children. We had to wait. So it's one of the things that I do suggest to people that have got families, to people that have got children, to say where you can leave the children behind, go in advance, settle in, and then you can bring the children over. The second thing that really we considered when we were moving, why we left our children, was the fact that financial uncertainty. Again, we were not too sure how much our costs are going to be. Fine, we've done our research, fine, we asked family and friends, but then again, it differs, lifestyles differs, jobs differ, and I think you got to experience it first for you to realize whether or not you'll manage, whether or not maybe you need a bit of time for you to build up your finances before you can bring your children. Some of the costs that can actually impact on financial stability, financial certainty, financial security are things like childcare, things like schooling, things like day-to-day expensive. Children are expensive, I must tell you. Where both parents work, sometimes you have to pay for maybe after school club, breakfast club that requires money. It means you've got more bills because you're living in a bigger property. It's just something else, so we're not ready for that. And also one of the things meant like we needed a car, so definitely I think we made the best decision, at least for our family, at least for our situation. So I'll go into the second reason why we decided to leave the children behind. Obviously, we wanted to settle in first, find out about the area that we're going to. I think I've shared this before to say, when we asked our family and friends, when we told them that we'd got a job offer in Cumbria, they asked like, are you sure it's in England? And I said, yeah. Are you sure? Have you checked? Are you sure that's not in Scotland or Wales or somewhere? Because they all live down south. They'd never really been up here. So that also made us really like think, oh, okay. But everything looked on board. Everything looked legit. Everything was legit and above board. So we knew where we were going, but it's just like the way there weren't so many we didn't have any family that knew the area. So we knew, for settling in purposes, we need to know about the area, know about our routine, know about the skills, family-friendly support system was very, very key. So I think we made a good decision because we came first. We got to sort of like have an idea of where we live, how the people are like, and how it would fit in with our lifestyle and the way we wanted to raise the children. So I think we made an absolutely brave but good decision, leaving them behind and then getting them later on. The third thing that I want to talk about is housing and lifestyle. Obviously, I always thank and appreciate, and I'm grateful we left the kids behind, because it was until we came over that we realized like we were so privileged when we lived in Africa, because like we had like family, friends and neighbors to support with childcare. We grew our own vegetables and food. Things weren't as expensive as we found out when we came over. So at least coming on our own gave us a bit of cushion. I do remember the first month I was staying in that Airbnb provided by the organization that brought me. Kudos to them, a big shout out to them. And then after that, I remember they found a one-bedroom house for me to move into. And that time my husband was staying with family, so it sort of like gave us time and leeway to group together our finances, settle in a bit without the pressure of having the kids around us. And I think for about like 3 months I was in that accommodation, and then I had to sort of like, when we knew the kids were now coming, we had to find like accommodation where we've got a room for them. At least, thank goodness, we've got 2 girls, so what it meant is they were going to share a room, so we needed a 2-bedroom house, so which sort of like worked out. We had ample time to prepare. It's one of the things that I do encourage people: if you're an immigrant and you're looking into relocating abroad, make sure you've got things in place, because it can really mess up your head. Just like you've landed with children, but accommodation is not sufficient, your finances are not so there. And I think I made a video on how to find a rental property and all the requirements, and it can be very tricky, especially if you've got children. So it's something that you need to consider, something you need to think about, whether you're moving on your own or you're leaving them behind or you're moving with them at the same time. The fourth thing as well that we considered when we were relocating on why to leave the kids was like, we're going to a totally new country, totally new lifestyle altogether. We want to find out if it's for us or not. And thank goodness we made that decision. I've seen lately a lot of people are just going back home, are just like, this is not for me. I can't survive this. And I can imagine if those people had relocated with children, that can even be worse. You've taken them out of school in Zimbabwe or in Africa, you bring them over here, and then a year down the line or a few months down the line, you just go like, it's not for us and we have to go back home. It's like the back and forth can really disturb their upbringing, their education and things like that. It's just me thinking, and I think we made a good decision. We came over, and I think we stayed about like 4 or 5 months in this country before the children landed, and we knew what we wanted. We knew how much hard work we had to put in. We knew we had enough time to adjust, we had enough time to address certain gaps and finding our feet basically. So it's worth it if you're relocating that you go first and you do the acid test, you test the system, you test yourself to see whether or not you can survive in that terrain. Because I must tell you, besides the work itself, there's things like culture shock, there's things like bills and you name it. There's a lot of things that can mess you up. There's a lot of things that people are failing to cope up with. More so the cost of living. I'm always thinking and reflecting. I remember when I came, my husband used to give me like £10 a week for my upkeep, because the budgets were tight. We were trying to save up for accommodation, trying to save up for when the kids come, and honestly I would survive. But now £10 will not even like last you. Like you can go into a grocery shop with £10, you come up with just a loaf of bread and a tray of eggs. That's all you can get out of it. So the cost of living has just gone up, and a lot of people are having to find out that, like, well, probably it's not worth it. Probably it's not for them. Probably they had a better life back home. So it's worth it if you are relocating and you've got a family, for you to go ahead, test first and find out if it's for you before you can bring the kids. That way it's far much better. Guys, stay tuned, because I will share with you how we left the kids and how the arrangements were like, because some people will be like, where do I leave them? And so I don't know. I'll just share our experience all together. So stay tuned. The fifth thing that I want to talk about is the cultural or immigration factors around relocating. For us, obviously, we're coming to an English-speaking country. Honestly, we didn't know how the kids would fit in there. Fine, us as adults, we knew we would manage because it's what we chose for ourselves. But then for them, it's like they're just tagging along. They've got no say in it. They don't know why we're moving. So yeah, partly we had to shield them from that culture shock. We know how we want to raise them. We know the values that we want to instill in them. So what was important for us as a family was for us to come over, experience the culture, and see where our family dynamics, where our children would fit in that whole big cultural bubble. The other thing that also was a big factor was like the immigration factor. Fine, we got jobs, got visas and everything, but that's not exhaustive. There are some things that you find out when you go on the ground to say, okay, what are the local laws like, healthcare systems, visa laws, immigration laws? What is it that I'm entitled to? Some of the things you get to find out about them along the way as you plod along. So we needed to like come over first and sort everything out in preparation for them. And why did I choose to speak about like immigration factors and stuff is because of it's coming up 3 years now, and I think in 5 years we will be having to renew our visas as a family, and that costs us a fortune because we're a family of 4. Also, we are looking into things like indefinite leave to remain in citizenship and things like that. I've actually had the privilege to speak to other families who came to the UK first and then relocated to other countries which were more which had more relaxed immigration rules, where it was easy to get citizenship and things like that. So other people are looking at that like religiously and diligently, because they know definitely what they want. So it's very, very important to look and say, okay, my dream is to be in such and such a country. My dream is for me to get citizenship there. So is it worth working, worth exploring? If you're coming to this country but you don't want to stay long, is it worth it for you to move with your kids, or you want to go and connect with your kids in another country? And I know, guys, it's unfortunate. I came on a care worker visa, which changed, I think, in the spring, and now does not allow people to bring their dependents. But there are options around that. There are other means and ways, which we'll continue to talk about on this platform. So, guys, you do stay tuned. And so, guys, a lot of people have been asking me, like, when you left them, what was it like? Of course, I miss them to death. Of course, it was hell living without them. That was the longest that we had been without them. And yeah, it was quite long. But like, I've got a close family and friends. So my family, they stayed with my sister, which, you know, I knew they would be well taken care of. I had options. So there are people who've got no options like that. They've got nobody to leave their children with. If they're older and you still want to leave them, you could really start thinking, maybe should I put them back in boarding school or anything. That could work for other people. So it's always a give and take situation. You know what's important for you. You know the things that you want. But this is just to help somebody who is torn between a hard place and a rock, to say, should I come along with children? And so for us, it was more personal, financial, and practical. And one of the things that I'm glad I did was the fact that my husband and I came at the same time. Guys, unless the other partner, or your husband or wife or whoever in that relationship is doing something productive back home, such that they can actually support the other person who would have moved abroad, it can work. But for us, what worked mostly was the fact that we came together. So even when it came to things like rentals, things like planning and just finding our feet and settling in together, we would hold each other's hands, would support each other. There are things like having to decide what job the other person needs to go for, because I know a lot of people, when they're moving from abroad, they already have got things that they were doing. They've got jobs that they were already in, well-established jobs. But then when you move to this country or to a new country, what that means, especially when you have children, is you now have to work around your children. I'll give you an example to say our children, they go to school. And when I came, I was doing domiciliary care work, which means that job is a day job, which means from day one, we knew my husband had to find a job that is a night job. There was no way he could go for a day job, and we've got children. So it's important, and you can only understand that if you're on the ground. Yes, we'd researched before, we'd done all sorts, but we had to be on the ground. We had to be together on the ground for us to really realize, or to find something that worked for us. So I don't know your arrangements, and this is not to discredit somebody who is a single parent and they want to relocate, because I mean, kudos to all the single parents that are raising children in this country or anywhere abroad, and they're doing these jobs. Because I do have marvelous, brilliant single friends who are raising their children, who have relocated with their children, and they're absolutely doing amazing. So it's doable, and I think I'll do a video on their experiences that they have shared with me, of how they have settled in, how they found their feet, and how they're supporting their children along the way. Because at the end of the day, for so many people, they relocated for their children. For us, we relocated for the future of our children. That's why we made the move that we move. And it will be so heartbreaking to see people go back home before they've actually realized their dream, before they've actually seen what they'd hoped for materialize. So guys, that's all I had for you. In case you are thinking relocation as a family, it's worth it watching this video. If you come across this video and you know a family that's wanting to relocate and they're actually trying to decide whether or not to come with the children at the same time, this can be worth watching. I think I'll share with you another video of how we then had to arrange schooling arrangements when we left our kids back home, because again, this is decisions. And guys, I will see you in our next video, guys. And if you haven't subscribed, please be kind enough to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of our videos. And we value you. Thank you so much for your love and support, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye for now.